Todd had agreed to a clean slate after medical student Jacob dropped a complaint he had filed against his so-called mentor, who had been tormenting him for months. The devious doctor, as viewers know, has made Jacob's life miserable since he began working full-time at the hospital, constantly undermining him, making him doubt every choice he makes and crushing his confidence. Tired of it all, he chose to take action last week by reporting Todd to HR. However, Todd gained the advantage when she stepped in to save Charity Dingle, who had just delivered the baby she was carrying for Jacob and her granddaughter Sarah. Todd used the situation to manipulate Jacob into believing that people could die in the future if she lost her job because of his complaint. But when Jacob still refused to back down, Todd finally gained the upper hand after discovering the truth about the baby's paternity, specifically that Jacob is not the biological father. Charity, as viewers will remember, slept with former Flame Ross Barton around the time the embryo transfer failed, leading everyone to assume the pregnancy resulted from the procedure. Wanting to ensure Sarah still got the child she longed for, Charity kept quiet about the fact that the baby was not biologically Sarah and Jacob's. Armed with this secret, Todd quickly blackmailed Charity, pushing her to make Jacob withdraw his complaint or face the consequences. Charity struggled to persuade Jacob to drop the case, but eventually he took her advice and withdrew the report. Todd was pleased and promised a fresh start once Jacob returns from paternity leave. Upcoming scenes will show them crossing paths at the hospital as Jacob and Sarah bring baby Layla home. Jacob feels uneasy when she examines Layla more closely and comments that the baby has his eyes, something that cannot be true given he is not the biological father. She then praises Jacob, saying his mother would be proud and that if anyone can balance parenthood with a demanding medical career, it is him. Her sudden kindness leaves Jacob confused. Has Todd really changed? It seems unlikely, especially after she hinted that his ordeal is only just beginning. Jacob may get a brief break while he is away from work, but Todd is expected to continue manipulating events to her advantage, even involving Vanessa Woodfield in her schemes. Will she go as far as destroying Jacob completely? Emmerdale has taken a dramatic turn as Moira Dingle finds herself pulled deeper into a dangerous vendetta, with a new and unexpected alliance forming as she sets her sights on destroying Joe Tate once and for all. What begins as a personal quest for revenge quickly escalates into a wider battle of manipulation, secrets, and shifting loyalties that could change several lives in the village forever. Moira reaches breaking point next week when she finally uncovers the truth behind her recent nightmare. After weeks of confusion, suspicion, and emotional turmoil, she learns that Joe Tate was the hidden force behind the chain of events that led to her being wrongly imprisoned. The revelation hits her hard, confirming her worst fears that she was deliberately targeted and set up. The truth comes to light through Robert Sugden, who exposes Joe's involvement in a calculated scheme. Robert reveals that Joe blackmailed him into planting incriminating documents at Moira's farm, a move that directly led the authorities to suspect her of being involved in Celia Daniels' human trafficking operation. What initially looked like circumstantial evidence quickly spiraled out of control, leaving Moira trapped in a legal and emotional nightmare. As if that wasn't enough, the situation worsened further when 2 bodies were discovered on her land, intensifying the investigation and deepening the suspicion surrounding her name. The weight of these accusations left Moira isolated, angry, and desperate to prove her innocence, but she never expected the root of it all would lead back to Joe Tate. Once she pieces everything together, Moira is consumed by rage. Unable to contain her emotions, she heads straight to Home Farm, armed with a shotgun and fully prepared to confront Joe face to face. It is not a calculated visit, but an explosive reaction fueled by betrayal, humiliation, and grief over everything she has lost. In tense scenes, Moira forces Joe to sit down and demands that he confess to everything. He initially attempts to dismiss her accusations, trying to maintain his usual calm and controlled facade, but Moira sees straight through it. Years of experience dealing with deception and manipulation give her the confidence to stand her ground, and she refuses to be talked down or manipulated any further. According to Natalie J. Robb, who portrays Moira, the character is at her most volatile during this confrontation. She explained that Moira is fully prepared to kill Joe in that moment, driven entirely by rage and a sense of justice. In her mind, there is no alternative outcome. She believes ending him is the only way to stop him from destroying more lives. The confrontation becomes increasingly unstable as emotions run high. Moira pushes Joe for answers, demanding that he admit to what he has done. Joe, however, continues to play for time, attempting to act ignorant and innocent, as if he has no idea what she is talking about. But Moira is not fooled. She is certain of his guilt, and becomes even more determined to see him held accountable. At one point, the situation nearly spirals out of control entirely. Moira's anger reaches a boiling point, and she makes it clear that she intends to make Joe suffer, whether that means ending his life or destroying everything he has built. The intensity of her words reflects just how deeply she has been affected by the betrayal. However, the situation takes an unexpected turn when Graham Foster suddenly interrupts the standoff. His arrival disrupts the tension and prevents the situation from escalating further. While this intervention likely saves Joe from immediate danger, it also prevents Moira from carrying out what she has fully convinced herself is justified revenge. Even though Joe survives the confrontation, the threat against him is far from over. The encounter leaves emotional damage on all sides, particularly Moira, who is forced to step back from the edge of a decision that could have changed her life forever. Despite this interruption, Moira's determination does not fade. Instead, her anger transforms into something more calculated. Rather than acting impulsively, she begins to consider longer-term revenge strategies. This shift suggests that Joe may have avoided immediate danger, but he has not escaped consequence. Later scenes show Moira speaking with Dawn Fletcher, Joe's partner, in a conversation that subtly changes the direction of her revenge plan. As the two women compare notes about Joe's recent behaviour and suspicious actions, an uneasy understanding begins to form between them. While they may not fully trust each other, they share a growing awareness that Joe cannot be allowed to continue unchecked. This interaction hints at the possibility of a secret alliance developing in the background. Rather than confronting Joe head-on again, Moira appears to be considering a more strategic approach. The idea of working with others to slowly dismantle Joe's power becomes increasingly appealing, especially given how easily he has manipulated situations in the past. Natalie J. Robb has suggested that Joe may remain under Moira's radar in a quieter, more controlled way moving forward. While Joe might attempt to talk his way out of trouble or regain control of the narrative, there is no guarantee that his usual tactics will work this time. Moira has seen behind the curtain, and that knowledge makes her significantly more dangerous than before. The idea that Moira could team up with others to bring Joe down introduces a new layer of tension to the storyline. Rather than a single confrontation or explosive showdown, this could evolve into a prolonged battle where Joe slowly begins to lose influence, relationships, and stability. The focus would shift from immediate revenge to long-term destruction. Emmerdale airs on weekday evenings at 8 p.m. on ITV1 and is also available for streaming on ITVX.